Donald Trump turned 80. He celebrated this milestone by announcing a new Iran peace deal and hosting a massive UFC fight night directly on the White House lawn. More than just a simple birthday, this day brought about massive geopolitical shifts and a massive, highly publicized spectacle. This period of diplomacy was framed by an agreement to end the war and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. However, tensions remained high following Trump's April 7 warning that a whole civilization will die tonight. On April 7, he predicted a civilization would die tonight, causing immediate panic among diplomats as they scrambled to react to the sudden, ominous warning. Following Trump's April 7 warning to Iran, a European diplomat in Washington said his government sought an urgent answer to whether the US president was contemplating using a nuclear weapon. People feared more than one strike. They feared a nuclear crisis spreading across Russia and Ukraine, potentially hitting two continents. American diplomacy was collapsing then. Reports suggested the State Department was being bypassed, leaving traditional diplomatic channels completely out of the loop and disconnected from decision-making processes. The America First era scrapped the old rules-based order for a much more volatile way of handling global power. The administration abandoned multilateralism, choosing hard power and unilateral moves to hit its targets. This shift away from international alliances prioritized direct independent actions over collaborative diplomacy. This looks like the January Venezuela raid, where officials captured Nicolás Maduro. The operation mirrors the intense scale of that high-stakes mission. This diplomatic breakthrough follows a period of intense tension, including Trump's April warning that a whole civilization will die tonight. The US and Iran have now reached an agreement to end their war. Trump posted on Truth Social this weekend, announcing he finished a deal with Iran. This breaking news is the main story right now, dominating the global headlines. The post went live around 5:03 p.m. It's Sunday, effectively ending the recent period of intense fighting that had gripped the region. This deal effectively ends the long-standing U.S. naval blockade on Iranian ports, fundamentally changing regional trade patterns. This deal also helps reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which is a key route for global energy supplies. This maritime passage remains essential for the steady flow of oil across the world. The economic impact hit instantly. Brent and US crude oil prices dropped right after the announcement, even as specific details remained unconfirmed. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif mediated the high-stakes deal, confirming the pact ends all military operations permanently. This landmark agreement aims to stabilize the region's volatile security landscape. Yet, before the official ceremony, the deal was already progressing. On Monday, Vice President J.D. Vance claimed both nations had already signed the agreement digitally, bypassing the formal event entirely. The event used a massive, specialized structure called the Claw, containing the octagon and an amphitheater arena. The event took place on the White House lawn on Sunday night, serving as a spectacle alongside President Trump's 80th birthday and a newly announced peace agreement with Iran. Following the conclusion of the fight, Dana White called the event a huge business win. The event also served as a backdrop for major diplomatic shifts. President Trump announced a peace agreement with Iran, which included lifting the naval blockade on Iranian ports and reopening the Strait of Hormuz. We need to weigh the risks. Critics have used social media to trash the president's bragging about his great deal with Iran. As President Trump sidesteps formal diplomatic institutions, questions remain regarding the impact of his approach of hollowing out these traditional structures. While the US and Iran have reached an agreement to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, the full text has not yet been released. Negotiations regarding Iran's nuclear program remain ongoing. Everyone is waiting to see if this deal holds or if it is just a breather before the next fight for regional power. Vice President J.D. Vance claimed the US and Iran had already signed a peace agreement digitally, though officials stated the agreement would take effect on Friday. This skips the State Department's usual role as the main negotiator for Middle Eastern conflicts, changing how diplomacy works. Moving from aggressive rhetoric to a formal agreement shows that personal relationships drive this specific foreign policy. Hosting a combat sports event on the White House lawn provides a strange setting for these intense political developments. Placing a UFC cage near the White House physically blends professional fighting with American political power. They use live combat sports energy to make this specific diplomatic announcement hit much harder for viewers. The event served as a spectacle, providing context for an Iran peace deal. The announcement of the Iran peace deal came just hours before the UFC Freedom 250 event. UFC Freedom 250 was a primetime fight night that played out just steps from the White House on Sunday night, combining sports and the office of the president in a way never seen before. Combining combat sports with international treaties shows how populist movements now drive global diplomacy. The Iran deal also affects global oil prices, which directly impacts worldwide market stability. Lower regional tensions might drop the risk premium currently affecting energy markets, according to recent oil price trends. Yet, without robust multilateral oversight, many skeptical analysts doubt if this fragile pact can actually survive the next decade of geopolitical shifts. Without a United Nations framework, the agreement relies entirely on bilateral trust to ensure its enforcement. By sidestepping formal diplomatic institutions, the administration's approach relies on a framework that lacks a United Nations-led structure. The White House fight night distracts people from the intense scrutiny facing the new treaty-specific, highly debated terms. A birthday, a peace deal, and a sports game combine to force the administration into one massive news cycle. The administration is trying to build momentum by staging several highly visible, impactful public events. This method favors quick, visible wins instead of the slow progress seen in traditional diplomacy. Now, everyone is trying to figure out if the US has fundamentally changed how it handles its global adversaries. This event's massive production scale shows the presidency is changing how it communicates directly with the American public. The administration stopped using nuclear threats and signed a peace agreement instead. This move shows they are now using aggressive rhetoric specifically to force quick concessions from their opponents. Using the White House lawn for combat changes how we view the executive office. This move swaps formal press briefings for a loud, sensory spectacle built specifically to go viral. Applying UFC-style production to presidential milestones changes how politicians brand themselves. This strategy targets voters who prefer displays of strength and decisive action instead of complex, nuanced policy debates. The announcement of the Iran peace deal served as the context for a massive spectacle. This event combined sports and the office of the president in a way never seen before. Scheduling the Iran deal alongside a major fight night strategically links physical dominance to political negotiation. This calculated timing makes the treaty look like a decisive victory won through pure willpower. While the full text of the agreement has not yet been released, Vice President Vance claims the deal was already signed digitally. UFC Freedom 250 was a spectacle that drove steady buzz among meme followers, though reactions to the event fell sharply along partisan lines. This creates a spectacle where sports and the presidency combine in ways never seen before. Trump is sidestepping formal diplomatic institutions. Or, by sidestepping formal diplomatic institutions, President Trump is pursuing a new era of diplomacy that includes a preliminary agreement to end the war with Iran. Energy traders are reacting to the sudden end of conflict-driven uncertainty. This announcement triggered rapid price swings across global commodity markets throughout the morning session. This blend of sports and politics changes how presidents communicate. It uses massive public spectacles to grab global attention and drive domestic engagement, effectively turning athletic events into powerful stages for political messaging. Subscribe and hit the bell to see how the Geneva signing fallout actually played out. We are covering every detail. Did the White House UFC event actually matter, or was it just a mess? Tell me your take in the comments.